Hey guys, it's Ro here. Thursday, October 10th, which means it is the first day of the 2020 CrossFit Games season, which is crazy. The Open starts today. I don't always do intros to my videos like this. There's a reason why I'm doing it now. That is because I have a fantastic interview for you. I'm so stoked. The YouTube page is coming back online. I hope you guys are as excited about that as I am due to the experience I had at the Games this last year. I'll be heavily focused on long-form interviews. That's exactly what you're about to see with Tia Claire Toomey, the three-time champion of the CrossFit Games for the female division. There's a big caveat though, however. I'm doing a lot more myself, which means that I'm gonna start making mistakes. The first one that I did that I can barely forgive myself for is that I really jacked up the sound on this video. You're gonna feel that. I got myself a Mevo camera. I was toying with it, and look, I messed up. So there's two distinct windows. I've put those down in the notes below where you're gonna see that there's some audio issues. Please forgive me for that. I won't do it again. I've learned a lot from this, and I will correct it going forward. However, the interview was too good to scrap. I couldn't let it go. It is very, very long. I put notes below. You guys can check out what you want to check out, leave what you don't. But a fantastic conversation. Me and Tia covered all the bases from childhood, her book, all the way through this year's CrossFit Games and what she plans to do in this year's sanctional season. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope that if you're not subscribed already, you will subscribe to the channel and come along on the ride for the 2020 season. We got a lot coming at you. Let's go. I just want to jump right in, my friend. I'm gonna take those off. This is my old man goggles. Yeah. All right.
You look sophisticated with your goggles. Your glasses on.
What's the date today? It's the 1st of October.
Is it?
Yeah.
Huh.
October 1st.
Wow.
So here we are, October 1st. It's been a couple months since the Games.
Yes.
And it's, I mean, obviously a pleasure to be sitting here with you. But I haven't seen a lot of you. You know, the only real thing that I saw was this Peru trip. I got a glimpse of you've been all over the world. So I just want to see, like, since the Games, what's been going on? What's Tia been doing?
Well, a lot, actually. So since the Games, literally the day after the Games finished, Shane, myself, and a bunch of our friends, we went and traveled down to Peru. We spent about 10 days down there hiking to Machu Picchu, and that was an incredible experience.
I love it.
Yeah, it was so different to what I'd actually expected as well. I got to Machu Picchu by the 5th day and realized that you could actually catch a train up there and just make a day trip.
But why would you? Like, such cool history. So
yeah.
You got to do the actual Inca Trail.
Yeah, well, so I also found out that there's a lot of Inca trails, and the one that we did was called the I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of it, but it was like the
spell it.
Sencatal or something. I can't even pronounce it, but
I
yeah, right.
Okay, so you did one of them.
Yes, but the actual Inca Trail is a little longer. It's actually a 7-day trail.
Yes.
And ours, it was only a 4-day trail, and then by the end of our trail, we went to Machu Picchu town, and then caught the bus up to Machu Picchu, which was just absolutely incredible. Just seeing the different culture. The food was incredible as well because it was just so fresh. The avocados are like that big. I couldn't believe it.
And I'm always interested in this. So like there you are in like some crazy pocket of the world.
Yeah.
And how many people came up and were like, "You're Tia Toomey, can I?"
Yeah.
Did it happen?
Yeah, that happened a couple of times actually. And it was strange. When we started, there was a bunch of people because we were actually just hiking up to a particular lake that was absolutely gorgeous. And the lake was actually created from the glaciers. So obviously over time, the snow's melted and just formed this beautiful lake. So you have this lake, you walk up onto this like hill, or it's a mountain, you have a view of a glacier and then a lake at the bottom of it.
Yes.
So like you can just picture how incredible, like it was just beautiful. I feel like I keep saying incredible a lot, but I really
it's the best descriptor.
Can't express like how pretty it was.
But here's what's interesting. I thought, I was kind of watching back over some footage before you came over today, and at the press conference, somebody asked, "When does training start for next year?" And you said, "Tomorrow." But then you go to Machu Picchu and stuff.
That's
and
right.
So, were you able to completely disconnect? Was it on your mind still? Were you still thinking CrossFit stuff?
No, as soon as the games is over, I definitely think of it, because just you dedicate your whole life to competing and training for the CrossFit Games. So I can't just switch off just like that, but my campaign was successful. I achieved more than what I went there to achieve, and I really couldn't be any happier. That said, I know that I have so much more to improve on. So it is always in the back of my mind, because I want to get better. I want to do better than what I did last year. So if I'm not thinking of that, if I'm not focusing on that, then maybe my priorities are wrong. But it is very important that I switch off and just enjoy the people I'm around and some downtime before the season picks up again.
Sure.
And of course, we have the Open only 3 months.
Next week.
Yeah, it's literally next week. But at the games time, we only had, a couple of months to unwind, but then wind back up for the Open, for the new season. So I do not really completely zone out, because my priority is obviously
You're still in your
competing, and yes, everything that I do is to be better. So I'm deliberately taking time off to zone out and kind of recharge, so that I'm not, I guess, what do you call it? Sorry.
Obsessed, or
I've just had, like, you don't want to burn out for the next season. So Shane and I, even like, I was more than happy to stay moving, and we hiked over 100 Ks when we were in Peru. So for me, I actually really enjoyed that. But when we got back from Peru, we had 2 weeks of doing absolute nothing. And we came back to Cookville. I sat on the couch and turned on Netflix. And halfway through that, I said to Shane, I'll come to the gym and work out with you. And he's like, no, don't. Like, I want you to just chill out. If you want to come, but you're not going to do anything. And a part of me,
no training?
No training.
Okay.
And a part of me was like, okay, this is cool. Like, I love this. But I kind of feel like I want to move. And so I still had to make sure that I was obviously still focusing on helping my recovery. So I was doing my ROMWOD every morning, stretching out. I'd make sure I was fueling the body, not with just absolute rubbish every single day.
Just like
for every
2/3
meal.
of the day.
Just 2/3, yeah. But there were certain little things that, like, I knew I needed to rest and recover and just mentally zone out. But in the back of my mind, I was still thinking, okay, like, in 1 week's time, I'm going to start training again.
And does that decision come down to Shane, or you and Shane, or when your body tells you? What was where was that line? Or was it just drawn in the sand on the calendar that said, once I get past this date?
I typically like to just not move for, like, at least a full month. And it's kind of crazy, because we were hiking a lot of it. So I was quite active just after the games. So that actually put it out, I think it was like the second week of September, where Shane's like, all right, let's start moving slowly. And to the point where I actually would get off the couch, I was like, oh, my back's tight, because I've just been sitting down for so long. So I was like, having to stretch a little bit more than usual. And I remember we went for a run, and like, I felt like my heart was going to explode through my chest, because my breathing was so rapid, and I just felt so unfit, which is a little disheartening, because the last time you did something physically active was when I was winning the CrossFit Games and was claimed the fittest on earth. And so when you get back into training, you're like, I definitely am not the fittest on earth anymore.
I'm not where I was.
Yeah.
I've got so many more things on my list of things you've done in terms of, like, Hawaii, Canada, and you've got Austria. It was a cool one too.
Yeah,
so,
we
like,
went to Austria.
you've been
I
globetrotting.
forgot about all of that.
You've been all over the place.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to hear about all those. But now, in the context of what we're saying, are you back to training? We're only a week away from the Open, and how long have you been full on?
Yeah, so we're back to training, and I've been training for a solid week now. I had started moving the body I think it was like I think it was like a Friday, the 13th of September. And throughout that though, I was traveling, so there would be a couple of days where I could go to the gym, I could train, but then there was a couple of days where I had a few commitments out in Hawaii, and I was also just using that time to rest from the training that I'd done the day before, and I was slowly getting back into it. But for a solid week we've been training. I think I've had one rest day, and I'm starting to feel like my lungs are getting more used to hurting and breathing heavy, which is good.
I want to make sure that I heard that correctly. The Open starts next week, and you've only been training for 1 week.
Yes.
Okay.
I know it sounds bizarre, and it's probably not going to be the best thing, but at the end of the day, I'm not training for the Open. I'm training for next season and the CrossFit Games next year. So in order to do that, I need to qualify, and I'm fully aware of having to, one, qualify through the Open, but I am going to be prioritizing my sanction events. Now, I'm definitely going to compete in the Open. I haven't registered yet, but I will. I typically leave it to
It's early.
Yeah,
it's
right. Early. And you know, I get to do the Open over in Australia, but what's kind of crazy is, it's something that I've only just recently kind of looked back on, but as soon as I get into Australia, as I'm in the air, the Open 20.1 actually gets announced, so I won't know until I land, and then I'm going to have to do it as soon as I land so that I can go to a friend's wedding, and by the time I land I actually miss a day, so I'll only have a day to do the Open workout, so I won't be able to like redo it or
Yes.
you know, try and just get you know, a better score if I stuff up the first time. But I'm really excited to be able to go back home and do it.
Yeah. Well, and here, this may seem strange, but I actually want to shelve the Open. I want to, because put the cart in front of the horse, because we haven't even celebrated your historical finish at the CrossFit Games, meaning you being the first woman to win 3 CrossFit Games in a row. So I'd love to, let's go back and look at that first, because I do want to talk about the season in whole, what you want to do. One thing that you said just a moment ago was that you did what you came to do by exceeding your own expectations. You obviously won. You won by a tremendous margin, and you took your 3rd consecutive win. But what was the goal that you exceeded for yourself?
For me, going into the 2019 games, it was simply just to do my best, and that can, I guess a lot of people probably could not understand what I mean by that, but I know what I'm capable of because I know what it's like to train. You know, I dedicate every single day, whether I'm resting, I'm training, or I'm doing something active. I'm dedicating that energy to do my absolute best at the CrossFit Games. And my goal was to walk away from every single workout and be very happy and satisfied with that. And I feel like I did that. There were definitely a couple of workouts where I was like, oh, you know, maybe if I'd just done this a little bit or held on to this for a little bit longer, I could have done a little bit better, I could have placed a little bit better, but it's not really, at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with the placings because I have no control over that. I can only control my best efforts on that workout and throughout that weekend. So I walked away with that and was very satisfied with what I did. And then what kind of exceeded my expectations was getting on top of the podium, was you know, winning by such a large margin, and obviously by being the first woman to win 3 titles in a row. And that's definitely something that doesn't just, you know, go over my head. It's like, oh yeah, you know, I'll put that in my achievements box. But like, that to me is something that I'm very, very proud of, and I don't take lightly, because the women that I compete against every single year is just absolutely incredible. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to push myself as hard as I do.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's the championship. And what else, when you look back kind of at the wave tops of the games, what were the high points throughout the course of the weekend? Maybe even the high points, like what really stands out when you look back at these games?
There was a lot this year. I feel like this was very it was a little different for me, and I know it was a different games period, just with all the different cuts and everything, but it was very different. I felt like I could go out there and have confidence in my ability, that I knew that I could do every single one of these movements or workouts, and I definitely set myself with high expectations, but I just knew that I could do better than what maybe I could have done in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the first ones was that very first workout, being one of the 4 women to have actually made the cut for that workout. So there was like a pretty aggressive time cap apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really know what the time cap was. I had one objective, and that was to finish
it.
it. Yeah. So I believe that there was like four women that actually completed that. So I was very happy to be one of those 4, and I just went out and attacked the workout, and I was very happy, and I was able to cross the line with a smile on my face, and that was, as an athlete, you train to push yourself and to be able to perform at your absolute best in competition, and that, I felt like that workout was a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
So I was very proud of that performance.
It was a different year in a lot of ways, you mentioned, and that workout in particular, in reading your book, which I got a lot of questions about to come, but you said that you had a particularly, you had some challenges your rookie year, especially in the way that you were greeted and treated.
Mm-hmm.
And flash forward to this year, and you were like, man, I really loved being on the field with those hundreds of people and the national champions and stuff. What was it like to kind of interact with, this is maybe the bright spot of one of the bright spots of the changes was there were all these national champions, they were there, they were looking up to you, and so now they're working out with their idol. What was it like? Some people didn't like it, some people did. What was your take on being on the field with them?
Well, it was interesting because, I mean, for me, it didn't matter who was out there on that field. As far as I was concerned, they were all my competitors.
Yeah.
So they were all a threat to my end goal, and I was welcoming that. So I was very happy and very proud to be a part of that, and the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned, because then I know that, hey, yeah, if I win, I've won because, like, I am the true champion because I've competed against absolutely everyone. So in my eyes, I love competing, and I don't care who's there to compete against, as long as they're all there, you know, in my eyes. But it was interesting, prior to competing at the CrossFit Games, you hear about all the cuts and how everything's meant to play out. And I was very concerned that people are going to come to the CrossFit Games and compete for only one event, but it's going to cost them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I thought that was because I remember when Shane and I would travel to the CrossFit Games every single year from Australia, we'd have to come here for a couple of weeks in advance just to climatize and make sure we got over jet lag. And by the end of the trip, it would cost roughly around $20,000. And
wow.
To
really?
Yes, yep. To fork out that much money for one competition, but let alone like one event, I would be so mad if I got cut after that.
Yes.
And I couldn't be mad at anyone else but myself, because obviously I was the one that got cut and I didn't do what needed to do to progress into the competition. However, I would have, like, I don't know if I would have actually come to the CrossFit Games had it been in 2015. Because who knew? Like, I couldn't just fork out $20,000 and just go for one event.
Yes.
So at the athlete dinner, I think it was on the Tuesday night, I got to meet a couple of the national champions and congratulate them for coming and everything. And I was so intrigued to hear what they had to say, and they were over the moon.
Yes.
And it was so incredible. It actually changed my thought process, because if they were so happy to be there and be present and be a part of that whole experience and disregard how much it costs them to get there, well, if they're happy, what's the problem? Because at the end of the day, you know, they definitely deserve to be there. They've qualified. And it's really cool that they're there because they're putting their country on the map as well, and they're representing their country, and that's really, really cool. And so it kind of did change my thought process. But as far as competing, I was just like, yep, come on, like
once
bring it on.
competition was competition.
Yeah.
Athlete dinner was athlete dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Through NOBULL mostly, it was I had some great interactions with national champions as well, and to exactly your point, they were all eyes wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them were like, no, like I could have not come. I chose to come, and I get for them. One time on the competition floor was far exceeded the price of the cost of admission, right? So I thought that was really cool.
It was so cool, and I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I just thought of the money side of things, and I was like, Tia, don't do that.
Oh, Tia.
Yeah.
So I stopped you. We were covering weight top. So the first event and being one of the finishers
so
at
that
the
was
time
really cool.
What else really stands out?
Another one was obviously like crossing the finish line when we did that hang dumbbell split snatch.
Yes.
That was a pretty epic workout. I mean, I didn't go in there expecting to win that workout. I just went in there just making sure I didn't stuff up the split snatch and alternating.
Yes,
because that was really difficult.
Yes.
And that workout, it didn't feel like it was a lung burner by any means. It actually wasn't painful at all. And I don't know if that's just because my mind was so occupied on making sure I was alternating with the right arm and right leg. But what was hilarious is I fell off the pegboard on my very first pegboard, and I was like, yeah, like, this is so embarrassing. Don't do that. And I was able to obviously, just not worry about that little mistake and just keep going. And by the end of it, I was able to cross the line first. And it wasn't the fact that I crossed the line first. I just got so G'd up and just so excited when I crossed the line. The whole Coliseum just roared, and that was really cool. And those experiences are the moments where you want to take in and just remember, because that's why I love competing.
Yeah.
It's like my time to show off.
Yes.
And so that was a really cool moment. Another moment which I feel like a lot of people really enjoyed this one, but it was the swim and paddleboard.
Right.
And Maddie and I, we definitely were able to push each other a little, but also help each other throughout that workout.
Yes.
And that was fun. Being able to go across the finish line together, but have like a little bit of banter. I said to him, as we were paddling in and we're getting closer to the deck, I said to him, all right, Maddie, like as soon as like we hand our boards off.
For those who don't know, when we say Maddie, that's an Australian friendly term, but we're talking about Matt Fraser.
No, not Matt Fraser.
Oh, I thought you guys were talking in the water.
No, so his name's Matt McLeod.
Oh yeah.
He's the one that won, and that was me and him going.
You guys
against each other.
were okay, sure from each other.
Yeah. Sorry,
That's funny because in the I saw it in the press conference, and you were next to Fraser.
Yes.
And you were telling that story,
yes.
So I got mistaken. Okay, cool. So Matt McLeod.
No. Sorry, and I should have been more clear because yes, we got Matt McLeod, and then obviously Matt Fraser, who's definitely been a large part of my life in the last 12 months.
But who would also not be okay with being called Maddie.
I think a few people call him Maddie, and I just cringe every time, and it's so funny because I'm like, hey Maddie, just to pay him out.
It's on from now on. He's a neighbor. We can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a particularly good event.
So he's a former a fellow countryman, and he actually lived close to where I started CrossFit. And so we go way back.
Great.
And the fact that, this was his very first CrossFit Games, and to be able to experience this, that was really incredible. And so we handed off the boards. I said, make sure you don't throw them, because I think Boz said before, if we throw the boards and don't place them into the hands of the volunteers, we'll get penalized or brought back. So I was like, don't stuff it. So as soon as we hand the boards off, it's like go time, sprint to the end, and I'm gonna beat you. And so there's a little bit of trash talk between the two of us, and so as we're crossing the line, we just both have the biggest grin on our face, and it was just so cool to be able to enjoy competing and also like have those particular moments, because when you are in competition, like it's stressful, it means business, and if you're like just playing around and not focusing on the task at hand, you know, you could lose a placing, it may not play out. So the fact that we didn't have the pressure of other competitors, and we weren't competing against each other because it's male and female, I was able to really embrace it and have a bit of a laugh and joke with him, and so that was really, really cool. And then of course there was two other ones. The other one was the squat clean event. That was so much fun.
That was fun.
Like, you wouldn't have been able to do it with any more than 10 on the field. And to be able to do that against Amanda was incredible, because, you know, she's just such a powerhouse and I have a lot of respect for her. And to be able to go back and forth together was just awesome.
Just amazing.
Yeah, we were both standing there and we're like, all right, come on, like we're ready to go. And, you know, Boz and Dave were giving us a little bit more time to rest. But just having the lights on that particular lifter that was going, and the platform was just so big.
Yes.
It was really, really cool.
That stands out, like in the echelon of all the games events. For me, certainly that stands out. And it was interesting, I talked to Matt right after the games, and he said that of all time, that was his favorite event.
Yeah. It just was really special, because as an athlete, you train so hard every single day, and you know, you're typically on the field with 10, 20, 50 athletes, and you're not the center of attention sometimes, because, you know, there's so many athletes to choose from, and the cameramen, you know, have like their camera on one particular athlete. And so the fact that someone could be lifting and showing off all their hard work in the middle of this huge stadium with everyone cheering that particular athlete on, it's just so rewarding, because you feel like you're able to really show what you're capable of.
Yes.
And you know, every athlete deserves that, and so that was really, really cool. And then my last event was special because of certain things that Shane did. So I had no idea, but going out into the last event, your emotions are quite heightened because it's the last event. You can't believe it's over. You're a little sad, but you're a little excited as well. You know, you're tired, you're ready to just, I don't know, have a few drinks, or, you know, have some pizza after.
Unwind however you unwind.
Yeah, unwind however you want to unwind, but you've got one more to go. You've got to put that little bit more energy in. Anyway, so I'm lining up and they call me out, and as they've called me out, you know, that alone gives you goosebumps. But Shane had told the DJ, and I didn't know about this, he told the DJ to put on AC/DC, which is I love that band, and put on TNT. And I just knew that Shane had something to do with that. And so I was just like, oh shit.
Best
like, it just was like, she's about to go down.
Just like the fuse, yeah.
And like I threw my shirt off and I was just like, come on, let's go.
Yes.
And it was just so cool, because like that extra bit of energy, I don't even know where it came from, but I was just like, yes, come on.
Here we go.
Yeah, I got really, really fired up. And so that was a really special thing. And, you know, I was able to focus, get through like the clean and jerks and the muscle ups. And throughout the muscle ups, I noticed and caught eye contact with Shane at the very end of my lane at the finish line. And so I thought that was just, it's really special when you see people that you know or that you're familiar with in the crowd cheering you on, because you know that they're there for you.
Yes. And
that's really special. And so I get through all the workout, and I've got like two lifts to go for the snatches. I'll look around, make sure no one's obviously like right on my tail where I have to like sprint to the end, but you know, I get the crowd up trying to like cheer us on. I do my 2, and as I'm doing my 2, like Shane and I have like solid eye contact and I'm able to cross the line and like secure the first place. And so I think for me that was just so special, because not only is he my husband and my coach, but he's someone that has been with me from the very beginning, even well before CrossFit. And we've been able to do this together, and it's been a long journey, and it's been something that, you know, he wasn't always able to be with me every single training session.
Sure.
But over the years, we've been able to structure our lives and, you know, implement certain things that have allowed him to be with me on a daily basis and help me out doing what I love, and he loves it too.
Sure.
So that's so special, and to be able to have that and that feeling of satisfaction that, you know, we've been successful at what we've set out to achieve, it's very rewarding.
Can I tell you, we'll get into kind of being a role model and a media personality and that kind of stuff in a moment, but I have to tell you, and for people who have not, like, I think the book was fantastic. I learned so much about you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So and one example of that is, like, you have these built-in assumptions, and it's one was,
for whatever reason in my head, I created that Shane was like your first CrossFit coach. Like, you walked into a CrossFit box and you guys started dating. The history is so much deeper than that. Like, so you say it in a sentence, oh, he's been there since the beginning. Since like grade school, you two have been attached to the hip. He coached you first in running, and then he basically book taught himself and was hustling on the CrossFit Journal and finding warm-ups and got on YouTube and teaching himself. And this is over like like a decade now that he's been doing this kind of stuff. So just for it's just to add layers to that. Like, I learned so much more, and obviously you guys are my neighbors now, and I've gotten to meet you as people. But I found that so fascinating that, like, when you say the beginning, you mean since you were a kid, you know? Yeah, you guys.
Like when my parents were trying to defend him off. That beginning.
Right. You got tested by the old man, right?
Yeah. When Dad like has to sit down at the table and be like, right,
cleaning his gun, you know.
Oh my goodness. It's crazy because, you know, so I've always done some sort of training for a sport. So when I was in primary school, it was for running, for swimming. We have a sport called nippers, which is a young kid's sport, and you eventually become an Ironman, like
it's like a lifeguard competition almost.
It is kind of like, the best way to describe it is like a lifeguard, yes, but it's different.
Sure.
Yeah. You know, netball, which is a Commonwealth sport. You know, just various amounts of sport that I did. My parents were so involved, and when I come to them and say, look, you know, like I want to make nationals for running, and I want to represent my state for that, you know, Dad takes that seriously, and he would literally take me to the pool every single morning at 6 a.m. to train before school. I'd go to school, and then we would go to the track in the afternoon, and he would be there with a stopwatch just training, and he didn't have, you know, a particular qualification for it. He just was like, okay, what makes sense and what's going to get her better? It's going to be obviously more running, and so.
Just a good dad.
Oh, it's
just a good dad.
Yeah.
Well, okay, my girl wants to be a runner. I'm going to go cut a track in the front yard, and I'm going to time you, and you need to go faster today than you did yesterday.
He would slash, so I grew up on a cane farm, and so he would slash the headlands and make sure that they were short enough so that I had like a 1,500 meter track around the land. And it was interesting because I ran around it so many times, I know exactly where all the potholes are.
Yes.
I have to learn the hard way with that. But, you know, just certain things like that, it was just absolutely incredible. And both my parents are very sporty. And then, of course, I have younger siblings. So my two little sisters, they eventually fell in love and became, you know, like very heavily involved in their sports as well. And the same thing, it's just really, really cool. And it's something that's been a part of my life for a long time. And so when Shane kind of came into the picture, Dad was doing like shift work at the time. So whenever Dad would have to do night shift or day shift, and he couldn't make my training sessions, because there'd be times when I'd have to go and do it myself, and I wouldn't have anyone accompany me. But that was great because then Shane could come, and it was a great excuse to hang out as well.
Right. Yeah. You may not date my daughter, but you can time her track intervals.
Yeah, so we're going to keep you two very, very busy.
You can be around her.
Take your two little sisters with you as well, so you're never alone.
Yeah. It seems, I like this, so I want to explore it a little bit more. It seems as Shane is very wise.
Yeah.
And it seems as if you know each other so well that he can really kind of interact with that part of you and kind of motivate and encourage you really well. And yeah, I think there was a part of your story that was really interesting when you really hit kind of a doldrums, like after track, and you're like, what the hell am I gonna do? And then eventually it was just finding out how much you actually love sports. Not only you like sport, you need it in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whenever you're at school, you get the feeling and you feel pressure from, everyone, not just your family or friends, but your teachers of, okay, what are you going to do after school? You have to do something. And who knows what they want to be after school? It's so scary. And as a kid, I remember coming to the end of grade 12 and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm going to have to make the right decision for the rest of my life. Like that's so daunting. So for me, I actually wanted to be a midwife or a paramedic. And that was something that I missed out because of my OP score wasn't low enough, and originally,
which is like a written test.
So it's like it's like a score that you get to qualify into a university to actually be able to study.
Kind of like our SATs.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. That's exactly right. Now, originally though, I actually wanted to be a vet, but you needed like an OP of 1, which is like the best that you can get. And I was like, oh, I don't think I can get that. So, like what was the next option? That was midwifery or being a paramedic. And I just missed out by 1 score on that. So I was like, okay, go back to the drawing board. Let me do like nursing or exercise and movement science. So I did a double bachelor because I didn't want to really do that. I just wanted to get my foot in the door in the health department.
Sure.
And I went to school for 6 months university straight after school. And I was so unhappy.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't doing what I actually wanted to do. And had I waited like 2 years and just, I guess, found a job and accumulated savings, I could have gone back and done veterinary, being a vet, or gone and done my midwifery because the OP expires.
Right, okay.
So it's like one of those things that I look back on and being like, wow, like had I done a different, we
would have all been in a different place,
it's so
right?
Crazy. So, I was at university for 6 months. Shane was working away, so he worked in a nickel mine over on the western coast, so near Perth. So we were doing long distance, and we've been doing long distance for 3 years.
You had a house together, but he would go off for work, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And it was crazy. Like I was in my own home, and I was like, my view or my vision in school was that Shane and I would live together after school. We'd be able to, go to work during the day, come home, have dinner together, and just a couple of years later we'd be starting a family. And that was not what was happening. It was crazy. Shane was on the other side of the country. I was going to school for something that I didn't want to do. I felt like I was wasting my parents' money. And I tried to have like a job that, obviously would help me earn a little bit of money so that I could pay for my tuition. But, I was only getting like 3 hours a week. So all I felt like I was doing was just wasting my life away. So I ended up saying like, look, I'm going to defer because I don't want to waste my parents' money. I'm not even enjoying it, to the point where I don't even go to the tests because I'm not even interested in it. And that was crazy because I look back at that and think, oh my gosh, like my parents would have been so disappointed because that's not how they brought me up. Like they brought me up to, push through whenever times are hard and, give your absolute all. And, sometimes life throws obstacles in your way, but you push through them, right? You work through them, and by the end of it, you'll come out on the other end, stronger, smarter, and you'll have a lot more opportunities. But in that time, Shane actually got a job offer in Gladstone, which was a little north of Brisbane where we were living. It was about a 6-hour drive north. And I said, you know what, I'm deferring, I'm going to move up there with you, I'm over this long distance relationship, and you know, I'll look for a job where I'm actually trying to earn a bit of money.
Sure.
And in that time, we still hadn't known what CrossFit was or anything, and it was like 2 years later.
You're like lifting weights casually at the gym.
Yeah,
You're doing.
no, I wasn't even really exercising because I just got into I don't want to say I was depressed, but I got into such a low rut that I just wasn't doing anything that I was enjoying.
Yeah.
And you know, doing long distance, it's hard.
Sure.
You know, so many people go through it, so they'd be able to understand, like, you know, it's annoying because you obviously want to hang out with the person that you love and you know, you want to spend your life with, and they're not there. It's man, like, what am I going to do now?
And you're very family oriented, so you're away from your family. You're.
It's crazy. So 2 years had passed. Shane and I were finally living together in a place I didn't want to be because we didn't have any friends. So, you know, I'm even now thinking about it, I'm like, I'm getting more and more negative. I'm getting more and more upset.
And people will be amazed by this, I think, because I was. You even described yourself like as lazy during that time period. Like, were you a partier?
So
like, were you
lazy.
just laying around and eating crap? Like.
I definitely didn't understand the importance of nutrition. Like, you know, every Thursday night we would have pizza night, or like I ate healthy, but like some mornings I'd have chocolate for breakfast. Like, it was
Sounds
things
amazing.
like that. Oh yeah, living the life. It was things like that I was like, I didn't realize how bad that was actually affecting my health. I wasn't overweight. I've always been very small. And then, you know, Shane would try and motivate me by like, hey, come to the gym with me in the morning. And so I'd go to the gym, but I didn't want to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning to go to the gym when I didn't really know what I was doing at the gym either. Right. That was something that it was very foreign to me, the gym. So,
so we fast forward, and most CrossFit fans, or people who know you through CrossFit, Gladstone will probably ring a bell because this is where you found CrossFit and hated it.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So Shane, as time grew on, we started, like, I would find friends through my work, and that was great. You know, we would go out to the clubs and, you know, party all night, which is fun, but terrible when I think about it. And then Shane, you know, he started being more involved in like team sports. So during school, he would play football, so rugby union, and he found a local team, started playing union, and in their off season they would go to this CrossFit gym for extra training and improving their fitness. And Shane came home to me once and was like, hey Tia, like, we went to this gym and it was really cool. I think you'd actually like it, and it may actually motivate you to get back onto the track and do some running, because, you know, I think that's probably what you need. And immediately he's like, you know, telling me what to do. I'm like, no, I don't think so. So I had like this stigma towards him, but I definitely knew that I needed to find sport again, because like that was something that I enjoyed. It challenged me, and it was also keeping me fit and healthy. And so I did start going back to the track and doing like training sessions. And Shane eventually won the argument, and I went to the CrossFit gym for the first time. We got a free session, and I was like, yep, that's all I'm going to do. I'll take up the free session and that's it. And the coach that was taking the class, he was good, but he was showing us like, you know, what we were having to do. It was demoing the movements, and those handstand push-ups. I was like, what is that? And so I was so intrigued to try it out, but just for pure health and safety reasons. He's like, look, you know, this is your first time, you can't do it. And when he said I can't do it, I was like, oh, no, you did. And so I got just such an ego about that.
You're
that
like,
I was like,
I hate this man.
I don't like you.
Yeah.
Like, don't like you. I'm never coming back here.
Just him doing that though, like, I immediately know that I like him as a coach.
No,
him taking that away from you.
Yeah, like I could not believe that he was like, no. I was like, not that I was a paying customer, but I was a paying customer, and he refused to let me do what I want.
How dare this man?
Gosh, yeah, I was one of those men.
How dare this coach me?
Well, I didn't go back for 2 months, and then Shane.
Legitimately, your description of it was you disliked it. Like,
yeah,
you
I was
really
like, nah.
CrossFit's dumb.
Yeah.
Is what your takeaway?
Yeah, I was like, I don't need this. I didn't think that CrossFit was dumb. I just was like, nah, I'm fit enough. I can run around the track. You know, I don't need this.
Yes.
And also, you know, I thought that the membership was quite steep. So I think it was like, $180 for an unlimited pass, which
Sure.
I look back on this now and I think, whoa, like.
It's just a natural reaction. Everybody has.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can't put price on health.
Right.
So it's like, you know, I definitely needed to make sure I was, you know, being a little bit more open-minded. So the owner of the gym actually kept bumping into me. Like, we would see each other at the grocery store, and he was like, oh, hey, like, when are you going to come back? And I was like, soon. In my head, I was like, never.
See you never.
Yeah. And so it was kind of like that one thing. And by the third time that we bumped into each other, and he's like, hey, you haven't come over yet. I was like, oh man, I just need to bite the bullet, just go, just to shush him up. And Shane, you're coming with me.
Is this the same guy that did the first session, or two?
No.
Okay, they're different people.
So
Okay.
this was a different guy. This is the owner of the gym. So I liked him. He was a nice guy. And I actually would go online and be like, where is that coach? Like, is he going to be coaching this class that I wanted to go to?
Actively avoiding.
Those
Oh, that's
classes.
fantastic.
But anyway, long story short, I had to actually go and buy like a monthly pass, which just made me so frustrated. So I ended up going, I paid like $180. I would go twice a day. That same coach that told me that I couldn't do the handstand push-up actually pulled me outside one day and said, hey Tia, like, you're coming too much. I don't want you to ever burn out. So maybe just drop it back to once a day. And I was like, oh, no, you didn't. Like, how could you?
This poor man.
He was not helping himself. And I was not having it either. I was like, no way. Like, if I want to come twice a day, I'm going to come twice a day.
Yeah.
So,
You're like, you must have fallen and hit in your head.
oh yeah, it became, it was kind of funny now that I look back at it, but at the time I was like, like, you can't tell me what to do.
Right.
And he was purely just trying to make sure that I wasn't going to injure myself,
Yes.
you know? Because just so we know, like, and so we're very clear, like, when I would do weightlifting movements, there was one time I snatched and I landed in a lunge. Like, I don't even know how that happened, but my weightlifting technique was appalling.
Yes.
It was terrible.
Really?
Yeah, it was so bad. I think it made him cringe, and that's why he told me that I can't do it.
Welcome to Cookville. I just had like a bug that looked like a leaf just landed somewhere.
Really?
It's somewhere. Just be prepared.
Yeah.
Eventually, you would. I guess I'm fast forwarding a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You would eventually own the gym. I never knew that you were an affiliate owner.
Yeah.
So you own the affiliate. You made some big changes.
So in that time, after that month of like securing my, you know, like making sure that I signed up and everything, I developed so many friendships, and that's when I started really enjoying living in Gladstone. You know, just being able to, or just being happy that I was exercising. I felt like I was just feeling a lot better.
Sure.
And then having those friendships. I ended up really enjoying that a lot more than actually going and doing my track training. So I also noticed a bit of a change because I was training so hard in CrossFit, and I really wanted to improve on my weightlifting. I was putting on a little bit more muscle, and so I noticed a big change. I was a little heavier when I was running. So I made the change. I was like, look, I'm not going to compete for track anymore. And I found out that there's like local CrossFit competitions. I'm just going to do that. And that's going to give me that competition. I guess, like, I love competing, that, you know, if I could compete in CrossFit and keep challenging myself, like, it was going to give me everything that I needed.
I'm so sorry because I love everything about like hearing your story, because the way that you actually kind of got pulled into the CrossFit competition group was you were a little bit like, I'm not going to ask.
Yes.
Tell people kind of how that went down.
It's like, so I would refuse to ask to be a part of their comp squad. And so I was like, I'm going to be so good.
Not because you didn't want to do it.
Yeah, not because I didn't want to do it. It's because I just never wanted to put myself out there and be rejected, I guess.
You wanted to be asked.
I wanted to be asked. So I was just like, I'm going to be so good that they can't help but ask me to be a part of their team.
I love it.
So before I knew it, they were like, hey, Tia, would you like to come on the weekends and train for our competition squad? And I even acted as if like, it wasn't a big deal. I went home to Shane, I was like, you wouldn't believe. But then
we did it!
Yeah, I made it! And Shane was just like, okay.
Yes.
He wasn't really into CrossFit as much as what I
Right.
eventually got into. So it was like one of those things where he was like, cool. I'm just going to keep going and doing whatever I was just about doing. And in that time, as I got I'd go to Brisbane and we'd have a local CrossFit competition and we'd be a part of teams and stuff. And then I came across this individual competition, and it was like, I think, so I started in the Open of 2013, and this competition was in September of 2013. And it was like 2 months out from this competition. I said to Shane, I was like, hey, I really want to do this individual comp. It'll be the first one that I've ever done, so I need help on just doing extras that wouldn't come up in the class. So rope climbs, just random things that probably wouldn't come up.
It's not programmed in a class.
Yeah. And Shane had done enough classes in the CrossFit gym to know that, okay, so like maybe you need to improve on this or this. We definitely knew my technique for weightlifting needed to improve. But he then went onto YouTube and was Googling, how do you learn how to rope climb? And I think Jason Khalifa's video came up and was like, okay, so you do this. And that's when I started realizing that, there's actually, I think there's a bit more of a sport here. And Sam Briggs had only just won in 2013. Yeah. And I still, I didn't watch the games at all. I just knew that, there was a major competition, I think it was in July. And one thing led to another. He helped me in the afternoons to do those extras. And then we actually ended up winning that competition, which was incredible.
Yeah.
And I won $2,000, and I was just over the moon. I was just like, woo!
And felt the thrill of the competition floor, right?
Pardon?
And felt the thrill of the competition floor.
Yeah.
Felt what it was all about.
It was so cool. So from that moment on, I was absolutely hooked. And it wasn't until the end of 2014 that the owner actually approached Shane and I to see if we would buy the gym. And so come the 1st of January 2015, we would be the new owners of CrossFit Games, and that was incredible. Yeah. It was unbelievable.
And I love getting that bit of history then, because they think about the context of where we are right now. Mm-hmm. Now you are we could say the most dominant female in the sport, having 3 titles to your name. So I'm going to pull us back out of history and pull us back into this year.
Yeah.
And we can keep going back and forth as long as I can keep you, because I absolutely love it. Where we ended talking before was your high points of the games. Let's finish with the final high point, which we kind of touched on, but actually becoming the champion, becoming the 3-time champion, and pairing that with the history of, I know that in particular, 17 was a really big year for you, but even 16, even though it was a second place finish, you got married, we went to the Olympics.
Yes, well, I got married in 2017 after coming first for the first year.
Okay.
But 2016 was a pretty crazy year, and it was very scary because after competing in 2015, I went to the CrossFit Games purely to represent my gym that I just bought and I wanted to make my members proud. And I don't know what it was, if it was just purely for those reasons that I just was able to come second. Like initially, part of me also thought, oh my gosh, like everyone got heat stroke through Murph. That's why I won, because they all kind of like were depleted throughout the whole rest of the weekend.
You doubted yourself because other people planted doubt. Is that fair to say? Like, you don't still believe that, do you?
No, I don't believe it, but I do remember thinking to myself when I came second, like, oh, like, this is not meant to happen. Like, how did this even happen? I came second at the CrossFit Games my first year, like, what's happened? And in 2014, I became a lot more aware of the competitors that were competing at the CrossFit Games. And then 2015, to be able to stand side by side with them, that was just unbelievable.
Well, again, and what people probably don't know, in 14, you went as a spectator.
Yeah, I did.
Like,
and
you were in the stands at the Home Depot. Right.
I was like, I'm not going to the CrossFit Games to spectate. This is my 21st. We're going to Las Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas is over here.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna waste time on
We ended
this.
up going to Vegas, but the group that we went, they wanted to go to the CrossFit Games, and of course I wasn't going to put a stop to that. So being there as a spectator, I just thought it was incredible. And at that time, I didn't care to compete at the CrossFit Games. I was actually injured at that time, but I wanted to really focus on actually competing and qualifying for the Olympics, which was obviously in 2016. So the whole CrossFit Games experience in 2015 was not really meant to happen. So to come second was like, that was like a whole whirlwind. Like, that was incredible. And I was so proud. Like, I just could not believe that we'd come second. But part of me was thinking, like, there was so much talk about how so many of the athletes that were in favor of winning or podiuming, they got heat stroke throughout the games and like really struggled to perform at their absolute best. So part of me had to think, like, is that why I came second? Because they weren't able to put their best foot forward? Like, and I was just being a realist in that respect. Still, I didn't take that away from, like, coming second. I didn't want to take that away from me. I was so over the moon. I didn't even know you won money at the CrossFit Games. So when, like,
You just
at
showed
the
up.
end of it, I was just like, I won 80K? Like, what? And then when you convert that from the US to Australian dollars, I was like, that's like 100K.
But could I get that before Vegas?
Oh,
Because that would
it was
separate years.
incredible. But yeah, so it was like one of those things that, like, I really just was so surprised by the whole experience. And I was over the moon, but a little bit of me was like, I've got to come back and prove myself now.
Yeah.
And I did feel like I had to prove to the world that I deserve to be up here.
Yes.
And so that's obviously what 2016 was all about. Which I do think, like, because I felt like a lot of people didn't think I deserved to be up on that podium. And, you know, I remember, like, getting, like, snarly looks or hearing comments from people saying that, you know, the people at the podium weren't the true fittest.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't help but think, like, is that a little bit true? Like, you know, like, why would they be saying that then? So.
And when you say that, you mean everyone from probably competitors who maybe had a little bit of, like, you know, sour grapes to people like media personalities and
media,
documentary stuff.
Media, athletes, like competitors, like supporters, like people that were in the CrossFit community that were watching. You'd see comments all over social media. Yeah, like everyone. It was crazy. The only people that I felt like really were truly proud of me were my family, my friends, my gym.
Yeah.
They were over the moon, and that's really all that mattered at the end of the day.
But nonetheless, it's a you don't want to have that hanging over.
100%. And so for me, when I went to the CrossFit Games, you know, I experienced that, but I never cared to be in the sport for very long. Like, I made it to the CrossFit Games. I was like, cool. I made my goal, I did my goal. I don't care for winning because as far as I'm concerned, being at the CrossFit Games was what I wanted to achieve. So anything on top of that is gold. Like that's exceeding my expectations. Sure. So in 2016, I wanted to kind of validate that no, I deserved to be out on that podium. So as far as I'm concerned, I'll make the CrossFit Games and I'll come second or better. Like I still didn't care to win because I was like winning to me wasn't everything. Being a part of it and actually making the CrossFit Games, that was huge because no one in my gym had ever done it. A very select few Australians had ever really done very well at the CrossFit Games.
No Australian had.
And actually, I was actually the first Australian to make the podium. So, as far as I was concerned, I was already on top of the world.
Yeah.
And
right.
I didn't need a gold medal to validate how important I was as a person. So, I actually remember watching an interview of Rich Rooney saying that, I think he said something where he was, no, I'm here to win, and that's all I care about. And I was amazed by that. I was like, oh wow, like, good for you. But I don't feel that. Like, I don't care about that. And that's been something that I've always thought of, like, am I the strange person? Like, am I strange for thinking like I don't want to win? Because I remember in 2015, Dave Castro said to all of us at the athlete dinner, if you're not here to win, well then you should walk out these doors. And I was like, does that mean I have to actually walk out these doors? Like,
can I finish my food?
Yeah. Like I remember that so clearly because I was like, but I don't care to win. Like, I'm not doing it to win. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I want to be challenged through these workouts and I want to go through this weekend and see how good I do.
Sure.
I don't care about placing. Like,
and does that carry through? Like, is that still the case?
Yeah. It really is. Like, of course, when I came second in 2016, my emotion and the way I felt with that second medal, it caught me off guard. I did not expect to have that much emotion because, quite frankly, as far as I was concerned, I was just like, oh, awesome. I've proven that I actually should be up on this podium. And I'm very happy with my performances, but like all of a sudden when I came second, I was so empty. I felt
so sad, and I look back at my performance in 2016 knowing that I could have done better, and so that disappointment that I felt was, I guess, a little bit of reassurance that, hey, no, Tia, like, you can do way better. And if that means that you, by doing better, you obviously, don't take any shortcuts through training, you make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's throughout the next 12 months, you could potentially win the CrossFit Games. So when it came to leading into the 2017 season, everything that I did in the gym was purely to do better at the CrossFit Games. It wasn't ever to, win the CrossFit Games, or it wasn't ever to just to participate at the CrossFit Games. I think that's probably the best way of describing it. My approach was purely to do the best that I could possibly do, rather than just be a part of the experience. And that's a huge change or a huge flip that happened inside me, because I never ever want to feel that disappointment again. And when it came to the 2017 games, like, I won, and I only won by 2 points. So, like, you could kind of argue the fact that, like, oh, I wasn't just, the only fittest person in the world, but I'd done enough to actually secure the gold medal. But also, I looked back and was like, whoa, like, I was able to keep attacking throughout the whole weekend, and, look what happened. So
but
that
even in the
was-
context of what you're saying of win, lose, or draw, whether I do my best or not is how I judge myself. In 17 in particular, 2-2-2-3 intervals, you said you made some actual real dramatic mistakes, some performance
Yeah.
errors. And even the last little dramatic thing with Cara at
Yeah.
the line on Fibonacci final,
Yeah.
you're like, that wasn't me, I could have done better.
Yeah. And like there's just so many things there that like I even look back in 2019, like 2 months ago, and think, oh wow, like I've learned so much from that experience, and when it comes to the 2020 season, like I'm gonna be way better and I'm gonna be way more experienced. So when I was like, by the time I hit 2017 and came first for the very first time, I had 2 years of experience. That is game changer. Like the experience that you can get every single year just makes you a better athlete and a better human being, because you learn so much from it. You learn that, like in 2015, I guess I didn't realize, I was so young still, I didn't realize that, you know, you should only focus on the things that you can control, right? And in 2016, you know, I'm learning from what I learned from the previous year, but then I'm making different mistakes. And 2017, I'm learning from the 2015, 2016 mistakes. So it's like one of those things that I always knew that I had the willpower to just keep driving and like the determination to just keep pushing. And I never ever considered myself as someone that wasn't mentally weak, because if I was mentally weak, I would never have made the CrossFit Games. I would never have been able to go to the Olympics. I would
Absolutely.
never have won the gold at the Commonwealth Games. So there's all like these things that have been, you know, in play that, you know, I've just been able to learn from and evolve and adapt along the journey.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I think that that's something that I've looked back on, and I'm really grateful. Like as much as the coming second in 2016 hurt me, I've learned so much from that loss, and it's still like I'm still reminded of it on a regular basis, because you know, I think that built me to be a better person.
Sure, there's a natural evolution of a human being, right? And so taking that evolution and this perspective kind of that we just gained over, we just covered a lot of history. So standing where we are now, kind of on the precipice of the 2020 season, looking backwards, do any of them stand out more than the others? Does 3 times champ make you more proud than, hey, I took second place, but I went to the Olympics shortly thereafter? Or just, you know, maybe 2017 because it was the first fit. Does any of them kind of jump out?
It's crazy because every year there's been a reason of, you know, why I've done things. Like my why has slightly changed every single year. And I'll look back and I'll be like, wow, you know, like winning for the very first time in 2017 was just so breathtaking, so rewarding. It solidified the fact that like all the hard work Shane and I put in together was for something. And you know, that was a different feeling to winning 3 times in a row this year. I wouldn't say that winning this year was bigger and better than winning in 2017 or 2018, but my competition experience was a lot more funner this year. And that was something that I really liked and appreciated, because I can't really ever tell you any other year that I've been able to cross the line with a smile on my face without worrying about my competitors being just down my throat. So that was really cool. Like experiencing that was so different. Going and competing on the world stage at the Olympics for weightlifting and representing my country, being the only female to represent my country in weightlifting, that was incredible. But you know, it just, there's so many different things. The Commonwealth Games, that was interesting because my younger cousin Jade had actually just passed away the week before from a car accident, and she was only 16. So I was competing really for her on that competition, and that experience was completely different, and it was very emotional.
Sorry, I'm sorry, what year was that?
That was in 2018.
Wow, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so 2018 in March, we had the Commonwealth Games, and I was at the Athlete Village on the Gold Coast, training in the lead up to, so the Open had just finished as well, and I was training for the Commonwealth Games. So that in the Commonwealth countries, the Commonwealth Games is like the next big
Sure.
thing other than the Olympics. And I got a call at like 5:30 in the morning from my dad and mum, and I actually like deleted the call because I was like, man, I'm sleeping, like I'm not gonna pick up. Well, they called me again, and you know, they told me the news about my cousin. She'd just been in a car accident. She wasn't the driver, she was the passenger, and she was killed at the scene. And so that was obviously like the worst news I'd ever experienced. Just not even the fact that, like, just the fact that she was so young and she still had her life to live, and she has a twin sister. You know, like we're all very close. It's just something that, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, who it was, how it happened, anything. It was a huge loss in
Sure.
our family, and for me, you know, I was going and competing for her out on that stage, and we actually had to push the funeral back because by the time I was competing, had we done the funeral when it was like meant to, I would have missed out on it. And so everyone from our family like came and watched me, and you know, I actually at the time I felt quite selfish because I was like, oh wow, you know, like this is not about me, but there was more to it. You know, I felt like Jade was there, and like, you know, she deserved to, like, I really dedicate my gold medal to her purely because I don't think I would have been able to lift the way I did had she, you know, had nothing had happened.
Sure.
And so like that gold medal is definitely something that means a lot,
It's got a lot of weight
and
to
it's
it.
definitely different. It's not just about coming first and you know, getting 6 out of 6 lifts. It was a lot bigger than that.
Yes.
So every win or every accomplishment I've done and experienced throughout the years have all been for different reasons, and so that's something that I'll always think of and always be grateful for, because yeah, it's always different, and every year is different. You know, how crazy is it the last 12 months? Like who knew you'd be living in Tennessee? Like same thing for me.
Yes.
It's been, what's the date today? It's the 1st, you said. So it's like in 4 days time it will be 12 months since I've been home from Australia.
Wow.
Since I've been away from Australia.
Wow.
So it's like so much has happened in these 12
Yes.
months, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know about your cousin. I'm so sorry. That's but that's amazing that your family was kind of able to have that transcendent moment. That's wow. That's really heavy.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's fantastic. It's thank you for sharing it. It's I think, you know, I think it's really cool for people who are fans or for who associate to know that you go through stuff like that, and I can imagine there's people who really can associate with that.
Yeah, I'm definitely someone that I feel like I don't have to, I guess, announce. Like everyone's so heavily involved in social media these days, and everyone has a right to do whatever they want to do. You know, if they want to express their passion and their beliefs on social media, go for it. You know, everyone is entitled to having their own opinion and everything. But for me, I don't know if it's just the way my parents have brought me up. In a way, I like to stay a little bit private, but I have enjoyed opening up a little bit over the last 12 months. And I don't know if it's just by coming over here to the States and meeting new people and I guess, you know, having different conversations with people. It has been nice to, I guess, explain certain situations, because generally I would just let people comment or think whatever they want to think without actually, telling them or explaining the real situation.
Yes.
And it's quite fascinating because so many people of late have actually said, whoa, I didn't realize that that's how you are, or, I didn't realize that that's what you're into, or, like they've been surprised with a lot of things.
Yeah. Did that have a lot to do with this? Like, what was the kind of driver behind writing a book? Because it's a big undertaking.
Yeah. So a part of me I've always wanted to write a book, and not necessarily for me to just, tell people about my life, but it was so that I could keep track of what is happening in my life. Because, in 20 years' time, like, what if, so many things will have changed, and I don't want to forget these moments. And you say, oh, I'll never forget about this, but yeah, like, there's some things that are in this book that I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot that even happened.
Yes.
So in a way, like, Shane and I, we want to start a family one day, and I want to be able to show them, like, what we've been able to accomplish since, one, being together, but also showing them that, hey, just so you know, guys, you don't have to be a special person to be able to go out and achieve your dreams and goals. You can be an ordinary person, as long as you have the desire and the determination deep down inside. You will be able to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. And, I don't only want to do that for my children, but everyone that's out there in the world. If I can go out and achieve my dreams, well, then anyone can. And I think it's really important, because if I was to, sit down and talk with myself 5 years ago, like, I would be thinking, like, oh my God, you're a crazy woman. Like, how do you know that? Because I was so uneducated, but I've learnt so much over the 5 years that I'm like, anything is possible if you really just set your mind to it. Because you hear that, don't you? You hear that all the time for so many people, and you're like, oh yes, thank you, like, I appreciate it. But it's so true. You just really have to have the determination to do it.
So you believe, well, you are an extraordinary person.
Oh,
we have to take that for granted, right? Or sorry, we can't take that for granted. I think that there's a couple of just little caveats to that statement. Yes, absolutely, by hard work and determination. I just think that people might not quite understand. Let's talk about your accomplishments in particular, going to the Olympics, winning the gold at Commonwealth Games, winning the CrossFit Games 3 times. Sure, people could accomplish those feats maybe, but I think you do have to start with an extraordinary construct to begin with, like the hard matter, but then the dedication that you've put in, like, we're saying it as a sentence, like I said, like, me and Shane put in a lot of hard work. That means a lot more than just that sentence.
I guess by putting it in, let me, like, elaborate a little bit. So the way I look at it is, okay, I want to learn a different language, and I really want to learn it because I've gone to Europe, and I've done a few trips now in countries that speak Spanish, French, Italian, so many different languages. And when you go to Europe, it's very common for people to know like 5 to 7 different languages, which is, in my eyes, is absolutely incredible.
Of course, yeah.
It's amazing. And I know deep down that I can't commit to that right now. I want to learn different languages, but I know deep down that I just can't commit to that right now. So I know that I'm not super determined to actually accomplish that, and so it's not going to be successful.
Well,
however,
once you truly set your mind to it.
Yes, but however, when it comes to me retiring and I have a little bit more time, and I put myself in a position where I'm actually able to communicate with someone that actually knows the language that I want to learn, I know that that's when I'm going to be determined to actually learn it. And deep down, I will put the energy, I'll put the hard work in to actually learn that. And so that's where what I mean when I say if you are determined and if you have the desire, you have to have those, like, truly, you have to have those feelings so true that, you know, you're willing to do whatever it takes to achieve that.
Yes.
And I truly believe that people, they may say, hey, I want to make the CrossFit Games. But the real question is like, do you actually want to make the CrossFit Games, or do you like to hear, or you think that, how do I explain it? Or do you guys say, yeah, do you like just the sound of saying, hey, I want to make the CrossFit Games? Like, people truly know what they want to achieve deep down. They just actually have to ask themselves the hard question. And I guess in a way, you could kind of bring it back to the way you are. Like, you know, there's certain things that are in your life that you want to achieve. And like, I've seen you, you're a very determined person, and you will be able to achieve what you can achieve because you're willing to put in the hard work and get the things that you need in order to make that be a reality.
Yes.
So, like,
but it takes maturity, it takes time to understand
it does.
what, yeah, and to refine those goals, and yeah, and sometimes it's trying it, and like you said, being like,
yeah,
oh, wait a minute, I actually don't want that.
Yeah, and like so many, like you learn so many things over the years. Like this, I think I wrote this in 2017, so just after I won. Now there were so many complications, there were so many things that I guess you could call it, there were so many obstacles in my way to accomplish that, but I never gave up because along the way I knew I wanted it more and more and more.
Yes.
And I would ask myself, because I'm not the only one putting myself in this position, like I'm now asking my husband to give up his dreams and goals to help me achieve mine. And I'm also asking the support of my gym, my family, my friends to help me accomplish this. Even though it's an individual sport, it's very team related. Because if I never had the support of all those people, I probably would never have been able to achieve all this. But I was able to bring in certain things and have specific influences throughout my life to help me accomplish this.
Yeah.
And I knew I needed to do all those things in order to accomplish this. And I was willing to, you know, sacrifice certain things. I was willing to, you know, give up things. And that's one thing that I also like to make note of is I don't look at them as sacrifices because I want to go out and do that. So
these are choices.
Yeah, they're choices. Like I don't want to go out and party, even though it's fun. But I know it's not going to be, that's not going to help me get to winning the CrossFit Games.
Right.
So
right.
It's just something that I feel like, you know, if you really want to go and get something, and I mean like you really want to do it, then you're just going to dedicate your whole life to it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Go for it, because you'll achieve it. Along the way though, there was something, and I feel like this is important to kind of make note of, because so many people can get caught up in the process that they forget to actually live a balanced life. And for me, there'll be certain things, and this is why I can't thank Shane enough, but he was able to help me, I guess sometimes pull me away sometimes and be like, hey look, you know, let's go to the movies tonight rather than just going to bed super early so that you can recover for the next day of training. Now, yes, they may not have had the right amount of sleep that I had, but I was able to actually zone off in a different way and have a little bit of fun along the way. So I know, like when I look back on my journey, I have no regrets because I've been able to enjoy the process along the way, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I know we're kind of rambling on to a different thing, but I do think that it's very important that people understand that they need to have a balance while they're trying to chase after their goals.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's rambly at all. Like it's in fact, it's one of the things that I enjoy the most about having access to people like yourself is, especially when you don't take it for granted, and especially when there were bumps in the road and there were hard times.
Yeah.
Because there are a million people who say just sort of off the cuff, I want to do that. I'd like to go to the CrossFit Games, and in the inner circle, like all of us can kind of be like, you have no idea, little one. But for people who take for people who aspire or are fans of yours who aspire to do things, I do think that there's tremendous amounts of takeaways where they can see how deeply you had to bury yourself into borderline obsession with something in order to accomplish these amazing things.
It's kind of crazy because I remember specifically people saying like, you want to what? Like, oh, you want to go to the CrossFit Games? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, well, just have fun in training and I'm sure you'll do very well.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, cool, all right. Like, I actually took that on board and I was like, all right, I'm definitely going to have fun. You know, I don't want to obviously overcomplicate anything. Before I knew it was at the CrossFit Games, I came second. I was like, good advice. But I knew deep down that they were actually just being like, yeah, right,
yeah, exactly.
Just chill
giving
out.
you a little nugget.
Yeah.
There you go, cutie. All right, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. So we covered some very positive things about this year's games. I want to ask you because you mentioned one of your high points was what do we call it? The split triplet was the one with the dumbbell, right?
Yeah.
We talked about that already, but in your interview afterwards, that was precisely after we had gone from 20 to 10. It was the talk of the town. It was a big drama. Lots of people had their opinions on it. Didn't affect you. You went on to become the champion. But I thought it was this amazing moment in Tia Claire Toomey's history where you just acted like such a champion. And I don't know what the statement meant, and that's what I'm asking you now. But in your interview afterwards, I'm going to quote it, and I wrote it down. You said, you know, those girls who have been cut so far are my friends, and it's quite emotional even thinking about it. They deserve to be here. And I hope they can walk with their heads held high. And then you went on to say that obviously the women who, the 10 who are still here, are tremendous and they deserve to be here. Did you mean literally they deserve to be here? What was your take on that format change in particular and how it affected the competition?
Yeah. I think, you know, anyone and everyone can argue whether the cuts were too soon, not soon enough. You know, there's so many ways of dissecting the CrossFit Games and how they could have done it. I definitely think that next year will be different. They'll have different times for the cuts. The workouts will be different. Everything will be, you know, they'll learn from these experiences. But when I found out, so I didn't realize there was cuts after the sprints. I thought it was at the end of the day. So when I came off the field, Sam and Sarah came up to me and was like, you know, good luck, crush it for the rest of the weekend. And I looked at them as in like, oh, what are you talking about? And she's like, we've all been cut. I was like, nah, no, like that's not happening now. I think it's at the end of the day. And they're like, no, like we are out. And immediately I felt emotion. Like, don't get me wrong, they're my competitors and we are all after the same thing. But if it wasn't for them, like I said earlier, I wouldn't be able to push myself or challenge myself as much as I do. And I wanted to cry because it was like, in my eyes, I was like, no, like we've got unfinished business. And so I had a chat with Annie on the way back, and of course, you know, she was so upset, and that made me upset because not only is she my competitor, but they're my friends as well. And so I was really heartbroken for them because I know if I had been in their situation, I would have been so upset because I would have felt like I needed to finish the weekend because, you know, I had so much more to offer, and I can understand where their upsetment and disappointment was. And by having those emotions and feeling that and seeing where they're kind of coming from, it was definitely strange because at the CrossFit Games, I'm so used to competing against all 40 women throughout the whole weekend, all the way from the start to the finish. So when you get cut, it's just so different. Only competing against 10 of your competitors out of, how many was it, like 150?
Yeah.
That's so crazy. And it was something that I kind of felt like a part of me was going to be going out onto the competition floor moving forward for those girls, because I knew that you know, had they been there right beside me at 3, 2, 1, go, they would have been putting their best foot forward as well. And so I felt like I wanted to push as hard as I could, because I never want to take it for granted, and I want to represent them well as well, because, you know, that in my eyes, like, they've trained, they've qualified for the CrossFit Games, they should have been there. But then in saying that, there's all these different changes, and we have to get on board with that, because that's what our competition looks like. You know, what was it, 6 years ago, there was sanctionals, wasn't it? Like, this was even before my time.
Yeah. In 10 there was sanctionals, or sorry, what we called sectionals at the time.
Yes.
Which is a qualifier for regionals.
Yeah.
And then regionals
so,
for games.
So when they brought in the open, and I never even knew about this, but when they brought in the open, everyone was all up in arms about that, thinking like, what? There's an online qualifier for regionals? Like, so that's different, and we all had to get on board for that. And I like to think that the sport is trying to evolve and make these changes to increase the awareness of CrossFit as a sport. And, you know, like, I truly believe that once we are getting used to all these cuts, eventually the sport's going to grow and be bigger and better than what it was 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, or even last year.
Yeah.
So a big part of me was, though, very aware that, hey, even though there was a majority of the athletes were cut, there was still 10 that were very present and very eager to get in my way of becoming fittest on earth. And I wasn't going to take like that for granted. So I had a job to do, and I was going to attack every single workout the best that I could to make sure that no one was a threat for that. And you know, it doesn't matter who it was I was competing against, they were all going to, you know, provide something different, and I was just making sure that I was prepared for it. And so as much as it was disheartening not to have some of the athletes that I'd normally been competing against, I still had incredible athletes that I was competing against, and, you know, I wasn't going to let that, I guess, affect my end place.
Yes. Very well said. You know, and I love. Well, I loved that moment. I thought it was an amazing tip of the hat by you towards all of your competitors, and I think a lot of people, it resonated with them. You could hear it. Just the audience reaction was tremendous, and it was classy
and well done.
Sorry, what's really great is that even though there were athletes that were cut, they still got that recognition, and I guess were acknowledged for their efforts, and that was incredible.
Yeah.
And they'll never be forgotten in that respect. But also the athletes that were still participating all the way to the end, they were still very deserving of where they ended up.
Yes.
And so I think that's what's so special about the CrossFit community. You know, it is pretty special, even though there may be some sort of faults every now and then.
Yeah.
Every organization has that.
We're an impossible community to kill. You just beat us down and beat us down and beat us down, and we'll still kind of just use it as another excuse to come together, in my opinion. Let me finish on this. More changes this year. We already addressed them, that the Open starts next week.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to wrap up by saying, where can we see Tia this year?
Yeah.
So you're going to Oz you'll be there for the entire Open?
So going to do the Open, every single Open workout will be in Australia. I don't know which gym will be going at, but there'll be changes. You know, we'll be up in Cairns for a couple of weeks, then we'll be down in Brisbane for the next couple of weeks. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Then I've got the Mayhem Classic in January here.
Well, hold on. Any Open announcements that you're involved with that you can tell us about?
Oh, so the only one that I'm aware of at this present time is I don't think it's going to be the actual announcement, but I'll be doing Friday Night Lights for 20.5 at the touring pro.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because that'll be the same week.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then the Mayhem Classic, which is going to be on the 11th and 12th of January. Very looking forward to that. Never slept in my own bed and gone tried to qualify for the Grand
Yes.
Prix.
Oh, wow. That's right.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's special. I definitely plan on going back to Wadapalooza as well. That's definitely something that I had a lot of fun with this year, and I want to go back and do that. And then Rogue. I really want to go to Rogue and compete there because Rogue always puts on a really great show. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. And then, of course, the CrossFit Games.
We plan on having you there too. I can't wait to see how the Open plays out for you.
Yeah.
So
I
much
know,
travel,
I'm gonna be,
so many like.
traveling. I'm not going to be and I will be traveling in between the workouts, like throughout the weeks and stuff throughout Australia. So it's going to be interesting because it's crazy. Last year was my best placing ever at in the CrossFit Open. I came 6th, and that's great. But I was able to actually just focus on the Open and just not travel, just be in the same place throughout the 5 weeks. I was obviously doing it with Matt. It was just so different to what I've done in the past. In the past, I've been an affiliate owner, so
Right.
every other Open, I would make sure everyone got through, did their workouts. They wanted to do it twice, of course. And just before the deadline, I'd have to quickly get in and do my workout just to upload a score. So it's kind of crazy. Now I'm going to be traveling and gallivanting around the world throughout this Open. So I'm actually really intrigued to see how it goes. And obviously the priority isn't going to be solely focused on the Open. But I'm definitely going to give it my best, and I'm going to enjoy it. It'll be nice to be amongst different communities.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you to be home after 12 months away.
Yeah.
There's an event in November that we haven't talked about yet, which we would just be completely blown at if we didn't, right? It's the NOBULL Fitness Film Festival.
Yeah.
But just real quick for people, look, and this is biased reporting, obviously, because of my ties with NOBULL, but what got you on board? What made so much sense about partnering with those guys? Because honestly, until now, they've been fairly small fish in a big pond, and then all of a sudden the 2-time champion signs a contract and you're a NOBULL athlete.
Yeah. Well, NOBULL is a company that I've always known about, but never really. I was sponsored with Reebok, so I never really looked elsewhere. And my Reebok contract was coming up, and for some reason, I just was inclined to look elsewhere in a way. And I don't mean that because I was unhappy at Reebok by any means. I love Reebok and I'm very grateful for everything that they've done. But it came to a point in my life where we moved country, and I felt like there may be an opportunity for something new and fresh. I'd been with Reebok for 5 years, and I kind of was thinking, hey, I want to get to know a different company, and the people that I'd met through NOBULL were just so welcoming and also really, really nice. I was kind of really excited to actually get to know them more. So an opportunity arose when NOBULL offered for me to be part of their team, and I haven't looked back since. It has been absolutely incredible, and I'm so proud to be a part of their brand and what they stand for, because I'm not going to put up with any bullshit, and I'm just going to get down and do the work to get the result. And so what they stand by is something that really resonates with me, and we've done some pretty cool projects already with them, and it's not even been 6 months yet. And so I'm just so excited for November. They're going to be coming over to Australia with me when we go there. I'm going to be showing them my home, which is the first time ever that I'm actually going to be able to show everyone where I grew up.
Yes.
And I'm so excited. And then to be able to go to New York, which is like incredible. I love New York. And just, I think it's like going to be like a red carpet event essentially.
It's going to be radical.
It's going to be.
It's going to bring out a lot of the creative elements from the community. And this is what else is cool about it. Like, it's brand agnostic.
Man.
I love the fact that they're just like, yeah, come on. You like fitness, you do film, like bring it on.
So obviously, Brooke, Katrin, and myself, we all went to Austria a couple of weeks ago to do a little bit of secret filming.
Yes.
So I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that, but we were in Austria, and that was pretty surreal. What we captured there was really neat, and I think everyone's going to really like what they come out with in November. So stay tuned, hey?
So open Australia, then Fitness Film Festival. We won't see you compete until January when you're at the Mayhem Classic, and then again in February, and I believe that April is when the Rogue Invitational is.
Okay.
I think so. The calendar's out there, so everybody can use the Google machine for that instead.
That's true. Do you know that's also really interesting? So NOBULL started in 2015, and that's when I started, and so I kind of also was like, wow, it's just like meant to be.
Meant to be. Oh my goodness, we can't do it now. We have to, I've kept you for too long.
Oh.
But Bull made me think of it. One thing it was not prominent enough in here. There's one photo. You rode bulls, you crazy person.
Yeah.
You rode bulls when you were a kid.
Yeah. So, my family, my mom and dad, they should have had 3 boys, really. But they had 3 girls, and dad and mom are huge on showing us and giving us experiences that just widen our horizon. And one of those things was bull riding. Now, mum had a deal with dad where we couldn't do it when we turned 16 or 17, because that was the years that we would have to go into the bigger bulls. So we were so upset with mum too when that happened. I couldn't believe dad agreed with her, but that was something that we look back on and think like, oh man, they were really cool experiences.
This is you. Is that you on the bull?
Yeah.
That's insane. That is you riding a bull.
It's
my first
cool.
bull ride with dad. Just standard.
I know. It's really awesome.
I'm going to end it there. Thank you for coming to my home.
No, thank you. I love it.
Let's make a habit of it. We're neighbors now.
Yeah.
All right, so Tia Claire Toomey.
Yeah,
there you go. Coming at you guys 2020. If I don't see you before Australia, happy travels.
Yeah.
And maybe I might be getting myself down there. So
that'd be cool.
If I do, I'll see you in your home country.
Our Aussies are going to just be so ecstatic.
Well, they already had to upsize their event.
Yep.
And so this is the Torium Pro that we're talking about. It's going to be, they're going to do great media coverage from what I understand. So you'll be able to watch it online. Tia will be there, phoning the whole crew.
Yep, Rich, he's going to be teaming up with Royce. They're going to be doing the pairs. We're bringing over Darren, his famous cousin and coach from many years.
Who is actually one of a few who are falling like flies in our flag football league. So let's hope that his calf gets better.
His calf is getting better. We've seen him last night.
Okay,
yes.
good.
And, hopefully Friday night. Are you in?
What's
Are
happening?
you doing? So they're going to bring I had a complete mental blank. Both of our teams are going to compete on Friday night at 7:30
here
instead of Sunday. Yes.
Oh, no, we're rescheduling it because we're all leaving for fall break. I'll be gone Friday morning.
Oh,
so it's going to get rescheduled.
Oh,
we'll live stream it when it's Mayhem versus Mayhem, Invictus or Freedom versus Independence. We'll live stream that.
Yeah, that is so fun. It's so competitive too.
It is. But then you get the old manness. Like I pulled the quad, so I caught a touchdown pass the other day.
Yes.
But I had to go the last 20 yards, and I was like peg legging it.
That's right. Last week was intense. So we had Darren's calf, we had your quad.
The quad's kind of like two weeks in the making.
Okay, and then we had another one with the hamstring. We had a broken foot.
Wilmer broke his leg.
We had a broken leg. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So crazy.
If you're looking for a good way to get hurt, play flag football.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a good way to get fit, go follow Tia and do CrossFit.
Yeah.
Thank you, sister. We'll do this again.
That was fun.